Former President Donald Trump is back on the campaign trail today after being out of the public spotlight for more than a week. He will host a campaign rally in his resort in Doral, Florida, just outside of Miami. And he's expected to be joined by Senator Marco Rubio, who is one of the people on his short list for vice president. The former president called into Fox News last night to discuss his thoughts on a possible VP pick.
I haven't made final decision, but I have some ideas as to where we're going. And a little bit, we wanted to see what they're doing, to be honest, because, it might make a difference. I don't know. I'm not sure that it would. But there are those that say Trump's waiting until he finds out what's going to happen with crooked Joe Biden. And we'll see what happens with Biden.
Let's bring in CBS News campaign reporter Olivia Rinaldi in Miami. So who does the former president have on his VP shortlist? Any inkling of when we're going to hear his announcement?
Yeah, Lindsay, it's the question I keep being asked. Who is he going to pick, and when are we going to find out about it? Some senior campaign advisors that I've talked to have told me it could come as soon as 10 minutes from now or even 1 minute before the convention. We really don't know when this is going to happen, how it's going to happen, and you even heard him last night on Hannity kind of teasing that he doesn't even know who he's going to pick yet. So all of this is up in the air. It's part of the speculation. They want to keep the gig going a little bit. But we do have some clues as to who he is thinking about. Marco Rubio, as you mentioned, the senator from Florida. We're in his home state. Trump is holding a rally here tonight, and he will be in attendance. He is one of those top 3 vice presidential contenders that we have heard about time and time again. Another person we have heard about is Senator J.D. Vance of Ohio. What's interesting is that later this week, Donald Trump is going to go to Pennsylvania and hold a rally there that's just about an hour away from the Ohio border. So a little bit interesting there. And then we also hear about North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum. He's someone that Trump is also considering. So those 3 names are the ones you need to remember. But it is interesting that Senator Rubio will be here today in Florida with the former president, as we are expected to be just days away from this major announcement.
The Republican National Committee adopted a new party platform similar to the former president's that opposes a federal abortion ban. How significant is this, and what else stood out to you in the platform?
I mean, this is a perfect example of Trump's hold on the party. Never forget that when Donald Trump clinched the nomination, the Republican National Committee and the Trump campaign really became symbiotic. They started working together, and members of his top campaign staff went over to the RNC. So it's only natural that the party platform is now going to, reflect what Donald Trump really thinks about, issues like abortion. And we know that Trump's stance on abortion has 3 exceptions, and that's rape, incest, and life of the mother. Those are things that he has repeated. And more importantly, he says that now abortion restrictions are up to the states. This is key. The reason why this is so important is because Democrats have continually said that if Donald Trump were reelected, he would input a national abortion ban. Trump has said time again he has no interest in doing that, and that is up to the states. But now the party platform is reflecting where his position has been, leaving it up to the states and kind of pulling the rug out from Democrats on that kind of line if the party adopts fully this Trump's opinion on it.
We're hearing more about Project 2025. It's a multi-pronged initiative by a conservative group aimed at essentially laying out a blueprint for the next Republican president. What is this? Why is it causing controversy, and how is the former president reacting?
Yeah, it is interesting. Project 2025 is something that was started by the Heritage Foundation. And really what it is it's a set of policies and a set of personnel that have been vetted, lawyered through, so that if Donald Trump is reelected on day 1, he gets into the Oval Office and he can just sign a slate of executive orders that, reflect a conservative agenda and hire a bunch of people that also reflect that conservative agenda. As somewhere along the way, this kind of rolled out of control and it became known as Donald Trump's agenda were he to be back in office. And if you know anything about Donald Trump, he sets his own agenda. So after a while of hearing Democrats talking about Project 2025, and the Biden campaign has really seized on this, making sure that Americans know about it and some of the policy points that are in it, Donald Trump came out on Truth Social and said he has nothing to do with them, he has no idea what they are, and fully denouncing them. But, we'll see come November, December, and January if some of these policy decisions start making their way into what could potentially be a potential second Trump administration if he were to win the election in November.
Olivia Rinaldi, thank you.